Hey guys, so it's me Alexis. Welcome back to my astrology channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the Venus in Scorpio. So before I go ahead and get into the placement, I just want to let you guys know that I am going to be putting up a poll after this video is posted so that you guys can kind of go ahead and kind of tell me which Venus placement you want me to cover next. Also, I do astrology readings and tarot readings. If you guys really like my videos and you think my content really resonates, then I highly recommend you schedule a consultation with me and kind of see if my astrological interpretations work with you. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. So this is going to be a very interesting video because, you know, I've been studying astrology for a while now, and for some reason everyone is like really hyped about Venus in Scorpio. I mean, regardless of the hype, I'm going to tell you guys what, my take on the placement, hype or not. So yeah, this video is gonna be interesting. So I'm actually, now that I think about it, a lot of Scorpio placements in general are very hyped. Honestly, one thing that I noticed while, making my YouTube videos is that, my Scorpio videos make, there's like so many more views when it comes to my Scorpio videos. So hey, if you are a astrology content creator, if you want to get some more views, just talk about Scorpio, because apparently everyone loves to learn or obsess or something about Scorpio. I don't know. I personally like Scorpio, so I can relate. So before I go ahead and talk about the Venus in Scorpio placement, let me go ahead and talk about Scorpio first, like I always do with all of my videos, where I kind of break down all of the signs. So Scorpio is going to be a fixed water sign ruled by Mars, and we're gonna, put everything together and hopefully make sense of it. So Scorpio is a water sign, and the two qualities that make up water is the fact that water is wet and cold. And what does that mean? When you have an element that is cold, you have an element that kind of manifests internally, and then when you have an element that is wet, you have a sign that's kind of connective. When I think of wet signs, so like air signs and water signs, there's a connective quality to it. It tends to find the similarities between two objects. It tends to kind of mesh them together because there is a connection, and because of that we can create something new, but at the same time the two separate things can be kind of like hard to distinguish from. So in a nutshell, a water sign likes to maintain inner connections, so inner connections within the self. Now Scorpio is also ruled by Mars, and Mars is the planet of conflict. When I think of Mars, the core function to Mars, personally in my interpretation, is separation. And from separation you get things like conflict, you get things like assertions, and you get things like authenticity. So, and also things like violence, unfortunately. So with that in mind, Mars is really good at really, maintaining, or at least, pointing out differences. When you fight with somebody, you realize, oh, hey, we have some differences, we think differently. Or, oh, when you, go out of your way to assert something, you realize like, oh, this assertion, this is only from me and only me, because at the end of the day, you own your own actions, and those actions say something about you, which makes you more, distinguished. So that's something that I think about when it comes to Mars. And Mars is really good at, at least pointing out an avenue or a pathway for authenticity. A lot of people don't like conflict, but sometimes conflicts can be helpful because you can point out what things in a relationship aren't working or maintaining some sort of inauthenticity. And by having conflicts can definitely help with that. So there is some good and bad sides to Mars. Now, now that we have Scorpio all nicely explained, we have Venus over here, and Venus is kind of a little bit different because Venus is the planet of connections and beauty and pleasure. And a bad side of Venus is that, at its worst, like, Venus tries to maintain things that may not be good for her. So like Venus is all about connection and harmony, and is willing to keep that even if that connection that she really, really wants is not authentic. Now, because of that, I just talked about Mars, and then I just now talked about Venus. And when you put a Scorpio plus Venus together, yeah, the mix is not going to be the most easy one. Like Venus in Aries, Venus is in her detriment when she is in Scorpio, mainly because there is a conflict in, and agendas. Scorpio likes to maintain inner authenticity and would like to maintain it as, as long as possible. And Venus is just willing to connect to whatever, regardless if there's authenticity or not. If there's authenticity, great. But if that authenticity causes conflict and really, isn't pleasurable, then no. So when you put that all together, Scorpio Venus is kind of a placement where it's a little bit, there's some friction there. Some friction. Maybe some friction is an understatement. So if you are a Scorpio Venus and you're watching this, when it comes to the way you love, I'm going to be real honest and, just be real. But not everybody can date you guys. And I mean that in a good way. Because, when it comes to you and how you approach relationships, you're really, really not going to tolerate something meaningless, something that's not going to last that long, something typical, something that just is kind of mundane. When it comes to relationships, you're kind of like, this relationship has to be special. This has to be it. Like, it's either, this intense, loving, passionate relationship that's really authentic and really charged, or nothing. And for you, it's a good thing because, that way you can filter out the people who really don't take you seriously, and then you can really keep the people who do take you seriously. And there is something that I do need to tell you guys, because you have this standard, sometimes you can really struggle keeping the right person. And because, if it's not the right if you're not dating the right person, they're not going to stay with you. You're not going to make it easy for them to stay because, hello, when it comes to your relationships, you want your relationships to be authentic, true, powerful, cathartic, all these things. And to be frank with you, not everybody can handle that. And, that's okay for them, and it's also okay for you. Like, it's your own expectations in a relationship. And not everybody is going to meet it, and that's totally cool. And because they can't meet it, that doesn't mean that there is anything wrong with you when it comes to you, pursuing your relationships. Because, when it comes to I guess I'm a little bit biased because I am an Aries Venus, and I totally understand, your stance when you want a relationship that is authentic and passionate and cathartic and just, like that, because I understand, personally, I like the authenticity, I like the intensity, I like the passion, all of that, because for you have this mindset where, hey, if I can put my relationship in a furnace, or if I can just throw this relationship into hell and it bounces back stronger than ever, and it's still, if it's still going, then yeah, this relationship is for me. So because of that, when it comes to your relationships, don't get so surprised when people can't meet up your expectations, because to be frank with you, your expectations I like the expectations personally. They're high, for sure. But at the same time, it's necessary for those expectations to be high. Because the last thing you want is a half-assed relationship. And in order to not have a half-assed relationship, you better have some good expectations, and that's what you do, and it's great. However, there is something that I have to tell you. I'm gonna do this to all the Venus signs. There comes a point where in your relationships, there are times where, things may not be so spicy, where things are just going the way that they are, it's not really dramatic or, anything like that. It's just, super mundane and super simple. And sometimes I think the main flaw that I see with the Scorpio Venus is that they always want something to be spicy. They always want to keep that spice factor going. I'm a hypocrite. I am an Aries Venus. I am the same way. However, what we both need to learn is that, sometimes it's okay for our relationship to just, be mundane and, kind of boring, but just normal. It's not going to be healthy if your relationship has something going on every day. It's not going to be healthy if your relationship is super dramatic and super out there 24/7. Yeah, that's something that you like, but hey, you want to maintain the spice in the relationship. But here's the problem. If you keep the spice for too long, eventually, after tasting the same thing for so long, even the spice will get boring. Maybe your tongue will get numb to the spice. Sometimes the spice may not feel so spicy anymore. And one thing that I think could be a negative effect in your relationships is that eventually the spice in your relationships start to feel numb. It doesn't feel as spicy as before, and then you keep on amping up the drama, you keep on amping up the intensity to the point where like your relationship is like on fire, and then it just disintegrates. And that is not the way to keep the relationship. So when it comes to your relationships, I get it, I get and I agree with the whole thing, with the whole, if my relationship can last through hell, then it can last through anything. But, it's okay for a relationship to relax for a bit. It's okay for a relationship to just, be pleasurable. It's okay for a relationship to, be peaceful sometimes. And maybe with a Scorpio Venus, you may be skeptical of any peace or any quiet in your relationships because, sometimes you may see that to be a sign of weakness or a sign of vulnerability where you're kind of like, oh, this relationship's a little bit too peaceful now. Something could mess up this relationship now and then I have to work all over again to fix it. But I guess my main gist here is just, like, take the relationship as it is. If you really, really want to keep a relationship for so long, sure, go ahead. Put it in the furnace, but it doesn't matter how many times you put your relationship through many trials. The truth of the matter is, if you really want to maintain a meaningful, loving relationship with somebody, you have to trust in the relationship. And sometimes when you're putting so many trials and, so much, intensity into the relationship, that could be your demonstration of you not trusting the relationship. And anybody under way too much pressure could leave. Like, that's reasonable. So Scorpio, you gotta trust. You can't, you can't just, display your lack of trust by doing so many tests. Now, if you're looking at this, you're watching this video, and you have a crush on somebody who has a Scorpio Venus, you're probably wondering, okay, how the heck do I get with a Venus and Scorpio? So the first thing I would tell you is that in order to be with a Venus and Scorpio, you have to be ready to get through anything. Because, that's what they're going to be looking out for you. If they see you being the type of person who will flee at even the worst little conflict, they're going to be like, yeah, you got to go. The second thing you need to be when it comes to a Venus and Scorpio is that you need to be reliable and you need to be strong. Again, like a Scorpio Venus, they want someone who will last, a person who is passionate. And if you're not going to be someone who's strong, then yeah, it's not going to happen. Now, the third thing, which I think is really, really important, is that when it comes to a Scorpio Venus, at the very end of the day, like Scorpio in general, they're a water sign, right? They want to maintain an inner connection within themselves. If you're going to date a Venus in Scorpio, the most important thing that you can do is to help them maintain the inner secret identity that they hold within themselves. Because if there is anything that a Scorpio is really scared of losing, it's their own authenticity. Because they work so damn hard to be, who they really are, and that's why they're so damn secretive. And if you can be that person who can accept the way they are, and not only accept the way they are in terms of authenticity, but like even just be there whenever they're not even showing who they really are, like you're gonna do just fine. Because that inner quest for authenticity is something that a Venus and Scorpio wants, and having that person who can help you get there, that's like a huge plus if you are into a Venus and Scorpio. So yeah, that is pretty much my take on the Venus and Scorpio. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, I hope my take wasn't too spicy. But yeah, again, I will be putting up a poll after this video so that you guys can kind of vote for the next sign. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next week.